I love Patrick Mahomes. He's a transcendent talent, best quarterback in the game. Although the idea that, hey, we've stunk so far, and I'm invigorated by the fact that we've stunk because now we've got greater motivation to unstink. Hey, they still have the talent to do it. They just need to wake up. They've lost their mystique, Peter. That's really where they are, and they need to believe in their mystique again before anyone else will.
Mike, the fact is, and I wrote about this in my column in Football Morning in America on Monday, the fact is, other than the game they lost to the Chargers at the end of last season when they called off the dogs and Mahomes didn't play, the last 10 games they played have been decided by a touchdown or less. And you might say, oh, big deal. They're 8-2 in those games. It shows that they're good and blah, 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 blah. No. It doesn't show that to me. You know what it says to me? It says to me that, great teams, truly great teams, blow people out. And I'm really starting to wonder whether they have answers. And Mike, I'll just say this. Every single defensive coach who's got Kansas City on their schedule the last 2 years, everyone has spent days of the offseason trying to find answers of how to stop them. And I believe that because they are not deep at receiver, that they know that if they stop, in essence, Tyreek Hill, they know that they've got a really good chance to win. And to me, that is what I see right now with the Kansas City Chiefs, that they are just okay at the receiver position after some years of being absolutely superior. And that's the reason, really, why they signed Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon's a wing and a prayer, but they need that.
As Sim says, all these defenses committing to playing that umbrella coverage and forcing the Chiefs to be patient when they don't want to be patient all the time. They've had to be patient a lot of the time since 2019 when defenses began to react to the presence of Patrick Mahomes. And I remember Mahomes telling me before the 2019 season, they're ready for that. They know it's going to happen because it happened in the 2018 AFC Championship game when the Patriots took away Tyreek Hill. But now the defenses are fully committed to forcing patience all the time, and the Chiefs either can't execute it consistently or they don't want to, and Mahomes gets frustrated and he tries to do something that isn't there, and that's why we've seen these mistakes. Meanwhile, another reunion game, Peter. This sets up perfectly for Andy Reid and the Chiefs going back to Philly, only his second time back since they let him go. It was a Thursday night, I believe, in 2013 when the Chiefs went back to Philly with Andy Reid and won fairly easily. The Chiefs need this one. The Eagles, I think, are kind of stumbling through whatever they're going to be. That the records are the same, but I think just like Monday night, Cowboys on a higher level than the Eagles, Chiefs on a higher level than the Eagles. And the Chiefs really need to establish themselves with a blowout where it's not close in the final minutes, where it's won and it's over, and they can get back to 500 that way.
Mike, in the third game of Andy Reid's career in Kansas City, they went to Philadelphia, Week 3, 2013, and Andy Reid prepared to play Michael Vick at quarterback with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how much has changed in 8 years. That was Alex Smith versus Michael Vick. So things have been set on their heads a little bit. And now, obviously, Mahomes comes out. And look, I love a challenged Mahomes. I love an angry Kansas City team. I talked about how 10 consecutive games, close games for them, in the regular season, going back to the middle of last season. I kind of don't think this is going to be close. I think the Chiefs go in and they play really well, and they handle the Eagles.
They went on their Super Bowl run at a time when they'd been overlooked and forgotten. Mahomes had been injured. They'd lost some games. It was Lamar Jackson. It was the 49ers in 2019.
Right.
And Mahomes told me after they beat the Broncos in a snow globe game in December, I kind of like the fact that no one's really paying attention to us. And that's where it had gotten, and it's kind of back there now, and we'll see what they can do with it. Panthers undefeated, going to Dallas to take on the 2-1 Cowboys. Can that Panthers defense slow down a very balanced and dynamic Dallas offense, Peter?
Well, so far, Mike, this is to me, of all the fascinating games this weekend, and I'm just talking about in terms of X's and O's, this is the game that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and this is why. All right, so the Cowboys right now at the beginning of this year, what would you have said about the Dallas Cowboys? They're going to be fine offensively. They're going to score enough points. Can they stop people? And led by Micah Parsons and the resurgent pass rush that he has provided, they're allowing only 23 points a game in the first 3 weeks. Meanwhile, they're scoring 30 points a game. It's exactly what we thought was the recipe for success. You don't have to have the best defense in football, but you can't have the worst. If you can hold teams to somewhere in the low 20s, the Dallas Cowboys, I think, will run away with the NFC East. That is what is playing out a little bit right now. Meanwhile, on the other side, look, the Carolina Panthers, they have been so stingy on defense early, and people are now getting to know who Phil Snow is, their defensive coordinator who came with Matt Rule from Baylor. To me, I think in the first 3 weeks of the season, first month of the season, you tell me who's got a better front seven right now than, Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, Shaq Thompson. This is a formidable defensive front. And I think now that they've tried to reinforce their secondary, I don't know if C.J. Henderson is going to work. I don't know. It's good, I guess, to have a new start. I wouldn't be counting on him necessarily, but I do think that defensive front gives Carolina a chance to really make things hot for Dak Prescott. He's not going to be able to be patient in the pocket on Sunday.
Prescott's the key here, too. Coming into the season, we weren't sure how the ankle was going to hold up under normal playing conditions. He had the shoulder injury that was so deep in his back, it was more of a back injury, the lat pull. And 3 weeks ago today, Sims was positioned by the pirate ship in Tampa the day after the Cowboys almost beat the Bucs, and Dak Prescott threw 58 passes, and Sims and I shouted from the rooftops, this is not sustainable. You need more balance in your offense. And, of course, the analytics mafia came after us. But the point is, you can't expect the guy physically to be able to throw 58 passes. Regardless of whether or not, we don't need to establish the run anymore. That's not modern football. Fine, but he can't throw the ball 58 times a game. They've found balance the last 2 weeks. They had 41 runs and 27 throws on Monday night against the Eagles. That's the way they need to do it, because then the running game is working, the passing game is working, the defense is always guessing, and Prescott along the way looks better than he ever has, Peter.
When you have a 1B running back solution, if you have Elliott and Pollard, Mike, I'm not so sure that Pollard by the end of this season isn't going to be 1A. He's getting just enough opportunities now in that offense to basically show a lot of people. I think if you didn't know anything about football and you watched and you didn't know anything about who was the high-paid guy, I'm asking you right now, who's played better so far this year, Elliott or Pollard? To me, the answer's simple. I think it's no question. It's been Pollard. So, and I'm not trying to create anything here, Mike. I'm just simply trying to say that if they need, if they need that depth eventually, that's really going to show up well for them.
Well, and, it came up last week, the question of Ezekiel Elliott's contract, and is he earning it? It doesn't matter. He's got $13 million guaranteed next year, too. That's the all product of the holdout from a couple of years ago where he took a stance when he needed to, and they got to pay him, and they got to keep him, and they got to work with both of them. All right, Seahawks 49ers. Peter, Russell Wilson in his 10th season has never lost 3 games in a row. The Seahawks have lost 2 in a row. They are staring down 3 in a row at Santa Clara on Sunday against a 49ers team that is wounded after coming up just short against the Packers. Man, you could say that the Seahawks definitely need this one more. They can't fall to 1-3, not in that division. But the 49ers are not going to be easy to beat in their own stadium.
Well, consider that there's a good chance that the reason they lost that game is because of one of the 5, 6, 8 best passes that will be thrown in the NFL all season. that little off his back foot, little low arced job that was about 6 inches above the 6'4" Fred Warner's outstretched arm, which was just for Aaron Rodgers to just very calmly do that. That play should be on the very short list of great plays when you do the time capsule for Aaron Rodgers in Canton in 10 years or whenever it is. But having said that, I don't think the 49ers lost a game where they were horrible. I think sometimes you have to say that team beat us because they got one of the best quarterbacks of all time. We didn't play horrible in this game. However, I would also say this. The same problems for the Seattle Seahawks continue to crop up. Post Legion of Doom, they don't get great play from their corners. Okay? And in the 10th year of Russell Wilson being the quarterback of this team, there still are offensive line issues. It's almost like, the harder Seattle tries, the harder they try, the harder it is to build that offensive front. It has really been, I think, like the one Achilles heel for John Schneider, who I think is one of the best talent evaluators in all the years I've covered football. But it's hard to evaluate the offensive line, and over again, Seattle has come up short doing so.
And consider this, Tyler Lockett, hip injury, limited in practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday. DK Metcalf pops up yesterday with a foot injury. He was limited. That hampers things as well. Last year they were 5-0, and it fell apart down the stretch, and that's when we got the Russell Wilson post-Super Bowl consternation on Dan Patrick's show. It's happened a lot earlier this year. We'll just watch and wait for Wilson's agent to say, my client wants to stay in Seattle. But here's a list of the teams to which he would accept a trade before the November 2 deadline. All right, Steelers-Packers. Peter, it's fallen apart in Pittsburgh. Shades of Y.A. Tittle for Ben Roethlisberger. And Aaron Rodgers, as you said, looking better than ever, not that much younger than Big Ben. They've turned it around after the Week 1 debacle. This one has blowout written all over it. And by the way, it's only the first time in Rodgers' career he's facing the Steelers at Lambeau Field because he was injured the last time the Steelers were supposed to come there.
Yeah, and look, Mike, this is if you were Brian Gutekunst and Mark Murphy and Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, and you could have designed a schedule. Okay, coming off, I think when you looked at it originally, coming off an emotional game in San Francisco, a primetime game, traveling back home, from that game, and you say, oh my God, we got the Steelers coming up. And look, the Steelers with a little bit of a banged-up defense, with an offensive line that, Mike, every Tuesday I sort of take a little bit of time, and I look over every team's stats, and I said, what's interesting, what's not. Remember how the mantra in this offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, we were embarrassed at how we ran the ball last year. That will never happen again around here. They draft a guy high in the draft, a first-round pick, Najee Harris. So what is it right now, Mike? 3.2 yards a carry, Pittsburgh Steelers. They stink again running the ball. And so
last in the league.
I think
last in the league.
Yeah. I think what it says essentially is you can want everything that you want, okay? But at the end of the day, what is so vitally important is knowing exactly what you have, especially in a position that's so vital. You've got an older quarterback who's not a mobile quarterback, and you draft a running back to basically say, we're going to do this different now. And again, it's hard to know coming into the season, during the season. I saw that offensive line in 2 great drives against the Detroit Lions in the preseason. But again, Detroit Lions, a lot of backup guys. But now they are not being able to hold up for Ben Roethlisberger. So to me, I don't think this is temporary, Mike. I think this is going to be a continuing problem, and at some point during this season, the bottom might fall out on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Peter, I agree with you completely. I've been calling that offensive Frankenstein monster of mismatched parts. You've got the veteran quarterback, the rookie running back, 80% turnover on the offensive line, some holdovers at receiver, tight end that you like, a rookie that you're trying. It's just too much, and it's not working. And they can say all they want. Oh, we're getting – what else are they going to say? Man, we suck. I mean, they have to say the glass half full stuff during the press conferences, but – I don't think they've hit the bottom yet. And now watch, they'll end up beating the Packers on Sunday. If they do, great. I'll be impressed. I don't see it happening, especially not with the way the Packers are currently playing. All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.